I love coming to these concerts because you can go here, it's like anything goes. You can do it, you can move any way you want, you can do what you want, and nobody around you cares because they're doing what they want. And it all goes, and that's why people identify with that, that's why they come.
They're so unpredictable and they're so intense, the combination of it just drives you crazy wondering what they're going to do.
Half of it's the band, I think half of it's the people.
Whatever the combination, it's endured for the Grateful Dead band and its faithful followers, the Deadheads, for over 20 years. Deadheads admit that they are not typical of rock and roll fans. Deadheads are committed exclusively and fanatically to the Grateful Dead. The band itself has been touring since 1965, and though most of its material has remained the same over the years, they play to constantly sold-out civic centers and concert halls packed with long-hair, tie-dyed, sandal-clad fans who plan their calendars by the road schedule of the Grateful Dead.
I always see pictures taken at Dead concerts, and I guess the cameraman always seems to find the exact look of the Deadhead, a tie-dye shirt. My God, are they still wearing hair down to their shoulders? The men, that is?
Excuse me?
A slightly glassy look in the eyes.
You know, it's like, my brother sold his Dead collection to get to Syracuse.
Ripped jeans with patches on them, on the backs and fronts, and over here and every place where embroidery's been done. It's not true for everyone. I know yuppies who work in brokerage firms who wear three-piece suits, and even though they don't wear the three-piece suits to the Dead shows, their style is pretty much buttoned down, and they're legitimately Deadheads too.
Over the years, the band has maintained a hardcore following whose members include not only students, but professionals like doctors and lawyers. Even the Boston Celtics' own Bill Walton keeps no secret of his dedication to the Grateful Dead.
See everybody at the Dead show on the 4th and 5th out in Worcester.
But a vast majority of the audience, unlike the band itself, doesn't seem to get any older. They are high school and college kids, dropouts and drop-ins. The band is a living testimony to the counterculture of the psychedelic era, and its fans are the struggling survivors of a lost generation, desperately yearning for the utopian ties of the 60s.
Shake it, sugar me. Don't you love me? Oh. Shake it, sugar me. Don't you love me?
Oh. I've seen them in San Francisco, Southern California, Oklahoma City. Every time they come around Boston and Providence, Maine.
I missed 2 Nassaus. That's about it.
Would you like a number? I guess around 13.
The Boston Garden, the Worcester Centrum, the Providence Civic Center, the Cumberland Civic Center in Portland, Maine, and Springfield, and maybe a couple in New Haven, or if they're playing in Vermont somewhere. Then that's the regional Grateful Dead fan. Then there's the serious Grateful Dead fan whose means of earning a living is always in doubt because they seem to be on tour with the Grateful Dead 10 months a year.
The serious Grateful Dead fans know people all over the country, and they'll try to clear up their work or school schedules if they know the band will be doing a tour. There is a loose network of several 100,000 fans that will travel around the country and stay at the homes of other fans they may have met at a concert in Chicago or San Francisco. Some are equipped with high-fidelity recording equipment, which they bring into the concerts, generating thousands of hours of unreleased tapes that are duplicated and traded. Most other groups would call their lawyers when this happens. The Grateful Dead do not. What does the band offer to its fans that other groups don't? And what is it that compels so many young people to pack up and follow the Grateful Dead across the country? The group's drummer, Mickey Hart.
They're looking, they're searching, they're coming with expectations to the Grateful Dead concert. And that's what the Grateful Dead is all about.
The Dead, I think, have something for their fans every time they're out. I think they give their best every time they're out, and every show's a little bit different, and everybody gets a little bit something different out of each show.
The community that surrounds the Grateful Dead liberate a coliseum for a night, and I especially enjoy that feeling.
The Grateful Dead seems to embody a philosophy, almost a spirituality that reflects the time and place that the Grateful Dead was born. In 1965, in the midst of the drug culture of San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury district.
The Grateful Dead was just like a bunch of, I don't know how to put it, but we were an anti-establishment band. we never really played by the rules, and so going to see a Grateful Dead show might have been the most dangerous thing you've ever done in your life.
The Grateful Dead are the only main primary founding San Francisco band still out there touring as regularly and performing in very much the same way they did 15 plus years ago. And that leads to a situation where they can be considered to recreate that whole scene for the people that are either nostalgic for the situation or the music or the feeling that goes along with it.
But as a viable rock band, their anti-commercial attitude is at odds with the rest of the record-producing rat race. In the days of multi-platinum albums, when a gold album selling 500,000 copies was considered the minimum requirement to keep on functioning as a band, they have blithely gone on without that. The Grateful Dead have never had a top 10 hit and survive only due to the very loyal core audience that will buy enough records to keep the industry executives happy. This anti-commercialism seems to be at the heart of the Grateful Dead's message.
It's the way it is. And sometimes we talk about political or controversial or immediate kinds of things, and other times we talk about roses and skeletons and things. You know, it just goes back and forth. It's all music. It's what it really is, and it shouldn't be taken any lighter or more serious than that.
Well, Mickey Hart's funny. He is the one, I think, in the band that more than anybody else believes that the Grateful Dead are a spiritual entity in a lot of ways. There are people that think there are a lot of really profound, explicit things that go on in their music, but I don't think so. I think you can forget that. As far as the implicit things, what they're actually saying is that this is a valuable lesson to get from it. You don't have to do it according to the regular rules, nor do you have to be a nihilist, an anarchist, an out-and-out flaming rebel with a lot of anger and violence in what you do to break out of the mode of what we call entertainment in a lot of ways. The openness, the sort of spontaneous anything can come down feeling that they have is the most important thing about what they do.
My age or even older to people in their 40s who were Grateful Dead fans almost 20 years ago. And now suddenly they have 16-year-old children. And the 16-year-old children have become Grateful Dead camp followers. So it's an inbred kind of thing. It's become generational. The Grateful Dead have father and son and mother and daughter fans that go to all the concerts.
The Deadheads of the 80s are living in a different world than their counterparts of the 60s. The spark of rebellion that was the 60s ideal is no longer a part of a present-day youth culture. How do the Deadheads relate to what's going on around them?
I think that they embody the 60 ideals, but also they're more high-tech and they're more up on current events. You know, they're not living in a time warp.
But now it's gotten so there's all these people that are 15, 20 years younger than members of the Dead out there who don't really know anything about them except what they are. They've always known them as the Grateful Dead hippie star musicians and don't see them coming out of any community or any sort of past.
I touched Joey Garcia in his limo. I touched his hand and he reached out and touched me. I think he's awesome.
Many new Deadheads are hippies without a context. Kids that would like to drop out but are afraid to really drop out because there's no place to drop out into anymore except into a caravan behind the Dead in this particular case. They tend to be, you know, the more long-haired, the types that are scrawling skulls and crossbones on their school desk.
How long can the phenomenon of the Grateful Dead and its following exist alongside the consumer generation and the high-tech production of the modern music industry?
There's two things I've noticed in rock and roll. A, if you survive, you will continue to survive. Just the fact that you're around for 10 or 15 years will help you keep around for another 5 years after that. I would venture a guess and say as long as they can stand.
As long as they keep providing crowds with what they've always provided them with.
If you have something that works, And if you don't burn it out, and if it's supposed to be, it'll last forever. It'll last for as long as it'll last for. And we'll ride it until it's time to retire it, you know. And we'll know when it's ready. But right now, it's got a lot of miles to go. I can feel it.
Please tell me you on the ride.